There could be no more apt name for kennels than Town View. If you look around you, we're overlooking Newry. We're here in the heart of Newry. Indeed, you'd easily drive past this place and not know there's one greyhound, never mind 60 or 70, right here behind me. But the reason we're here for Talking Dogs Meets is to meet the Newry Maestro, the man simply known as the Master, Brendan Matthews. Brendan, here we are in Doran's Hill overlooking Newry. It's hard to believe that there's 60 or 70 dogs in behind us here. You're very much in the heart of Newry town. It all started here 60 years ago or more.
At least. It started with a bitch called Kieran Loss. But before that, I had an uncle, they called him Ted Matthews. And he was big in the dogs, because that time in Newry there was 3 flop tracks. There was 2 in the marshes and 1 up the Camera Road. And I stayed in the summertime with Ted Matthews. That's really where I got the bug of greyhound racing. You raced in 1 track in the morning, and then you went home and you got whatever bit of dinner there was, and then you raced in the 2nd track. Many a time a dog won the 2 tracks in the one day. But that's how I really had the bug. Then fast forward a few years, I started off, I often wonder how I got started, because my father bought me a van for £40. And listen, it's a long story. It took me all day telling it, but I'll be brief. Whenever I was moving up the ladder, and
you were fruit and veg, weren't you?
I was fruit and vegetables, yeah. I had now 2 lorries on the road, and I'm delivering a load of, it was actually cauliflowers, to a man called Lappin in Bondbridge. And this greyhound was running around as we were unloading it. Now, there was about 800 dozen of cauliflowers on the lorry. It'd be full, you wouldn't see it today, but you would see plenty of them at that time. And then this bitch is running around, and I says to him, "Is she any good?" Oh, he says, "Listen, there's not a greyhound in Ireland would come out of the box as quick as her." But as a matter of fact, that was the truest words he ever said, because she never was led, out like a bullet. But anyway, I said, how much would you how much are you looking for? He says, 20 quid. £20. So I says, "I'll give you a fiver for her." And between the wheels and the reels, I had a greyhound home in the front of the lorry for a fiver. So there was 2 brothers training dogs up in Newry here. So I knew, I learned quickly how to feed a dog. And that to me is the most important part of greyhound training. To this day, that sticks with me. But anyway, because Ted Matthews always said, "You'll not walk on an empty stomach." So anyway, yes, that all stuck with me. So I gave her the 2 woods to train, and she won 29 races out of about 40, mainly all sprints. But that time, you had, for a start off, we had Dundalk, and then we had Celtic, Dunmore, Dungannon, Lifford, Newbridge. Like, we had some options. You could, like, Leslie McNair ran a bitch called It's a Witch. He ran her 6 days because there was no racing on a Sunday. And he ran her Monday night and Tuesday night, and she won every night. But anyway, getting back, so that's what really started me in greyhound racing.
She was the first to carry your name.
That's right, that is right.
And that would have been, as you say, mid to early 60s.
Yeah, you see, the place where you're sitting today, the only reason that I'm sitting here is over a game of cards. That's how listen, people was working for £7 a week, £6 a week. And here's me bidding £1,500 for a place, and I'm only a whippersnapper, as they call them. You know, people get up merchant, if you know what I mean.
Did Kernan's Lass help?
Kernan's Lass, listen, like many a night I had £200 there.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't back her every night, because there's some nights you couldn't back her. I remember one night I won at 8-1, but she listened, she was in the top sprint of the night. And how she won it, she just got the bend, there was a pile up and she was on one night.
Yeah.
Not a penny on her.
While all this was going on with Colonel's Lass, obviously you're still a fruit and veg man.
Yes.
But that stopped soon enough afterwards.
Well, you see, 66, the trouble started.
Yeah.
And where you're sitting, I nicknamed it Checkpoint Charlie, because out through that gate, there was £1 million or £2 million of lorries and cars and buses burned outside that gate. It's hard to imagine. Now, my late wife, Anna, she took photographs, and I was searching all night for photographs just to show it to you. And so I can't, listen, she hid them too well, I don't know where, I couldn't find them anyway. But, so, I lost 2 lorries in the 1 week in Belfast, got them taken off me. And then I was dealing in fresh vegetables. Yeah, you couldn't say, well, sure, listen, I didn't get down today, I'll go down tomorrow. That didn't work. You bought them on Monday and you sold them on Tuesday. So consequently, I got out of it. And I built the cannon for 6 dogs. Now, I had never any notion, I was very fond of the dogs. I liked it, but I never really thought that I never really thought I could do what I've done in greyhound racing, and I'm saying that myself, because it's not too many would say it to you, so I don't mind saying it.
Yeah. Of course, around that time, you know, aside from obviously the fruit and veg business, having to get out of that, getting into the dogs and whatnot, you were starting to produce yourself. Like you had young family, yourself and Anna were setting up your lives together. Yeah, so it was a big commitment. You had to get the money somewhere, and that's how you end up increasing your level of interest in dogs. And I suppose back in that day, it was wherever you could get a penny. As a result, you would have been a regular at sales, both in Ireland and the UK. Yeah,
I bought dogs in Shelbourne Park. If there was something among them that I liked, I kept it. But just before that, where you're sitting today, I won the money to buy this place over a game of cards. It was the talk of the country. Yeah. It was like winning the lotto, them times. Yeah. And the last bet was £500 in 1960. 66, around 66.
It's a fortune.
It was a fortune.
As you say, like your 6 quid was a week's wages.
I was coming to Dunmore Park, and you're in Dunmore Park of a Saturday night. It was like, I used to watch the London Stock Exchange. And if you see them on the New York Stock Exchange, they're flying about. Dunmore Park on a Saturday night, there's people just went to watch. Yeah. And I was a big player. And I'm saying it myself. When I look back.
Well, even at my age now, I was lucky enough to get to Dunmore Park twice or 3 times.
Yes.
I've never seen anything like it.
No, you wouldn't say
I've never in my life seen anything like it. And as you say yourself, it was something like the stock exchange. There was so much screaming, there was tic-tac going on.
Yes.
There was, and obviously you throw in the northern accents, and it's so much that sort of verbosity about it. It was all so loud.
100 bookmakers.
Yeah.
I said one particular dog. I bought a dog in Rush one night called Twiggy's Son. And there again, I brought him home in the front of a lorry. And I gave him to them people up there. And I had £800 on him. Now, I give 400 for him, but I had £800 on him. Anyhow, he wouldn't be 10 lengths. Yeah. And I can tell you this day what time he done. He done 24:12. That's the time he done. Now, you'd say that wouldn't win many races, but it was winning top race at that time. It was a grass track, you see.
That's the 400 in Dunmore.
Yeah, 435. Yeah. But anyhow, listen, that was Dunmore Park. Only for it, I wouldn't be in greyhound racing. Yeah. And the night they closed it, I don't mind saying I cried. Yeah. It was a bad blow.
It was a remarkable place.
It was a bad blow. It was a bad blow to greyhound racing.
Yeah, it was a place where you had great memories. Obviously, you had great achievements up there, be it over the two bends, which was 435, which is pretty remarkable itself. There was obviously the 4-bend 700.
Yes.
2 or 3 of your
magnificent
Greyhounds used to race over that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we're going to get into some of the dogs that went through your hands and dogs that you trained over the years, but I suppose to this day people are still talking about the match race.
All right.
Tell us about the match race.
No, that Townview Man was running against a dog called Yellow Band. Now there was another 4 dogs in the race, but they were the players, the main players. And anyway, the final itself, Townview Man was badly, our plunket, as the famous said, murdered at the first bend. And so he was. He was put back to last, and he got himself yard, and he finished second bit 3 lengths.
This is in the final of the Sean Graham 700.
Sean Graham 700. One of the most famous races in Greyhound racing.
Yeah.
The Dunmore 700. Anyway, to make a long story short, Tim O'Toole, who your father would have known very well, he was a big player along with them people that own Yellow Band. I think the Comerfords had something to do with Yellow. They finished up having them a stud anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah, Donohue's involved, wasn't he?
Donohue, yes. Donohue from Enniscorthy.
Yeah.
And I congratulated him. You know, you have to come across as a sportsman even as killing you. But I always made it a habit. I never begrudged anybody that beat me. Mm-hmm. Now, they might have begrudged me, but I wasn't going to be like them. Yeah. And I never begrudged anybody that beat me. Yeah. But anyhow, to make a long story short, he says to me, I think your Townview Man, he says, he got a bad doing at the first point, at the first bend. He says, he did. He says, but I don't think it would have made any difference. Now, if he hadn't added that sentence, there would have been no match race. So
red rag to a bull.
Absolutely. He says, do you think not? He says, well, I think not. I think that, but I don't say. I says, so I'll tell you what I'll do, say. I'll run you in a match. I says, Tim O'Toole I'm talking about. Fearless man to the punt. He says, we'll discuss it with the boys. So we come back and we'll run for 5,000. And the words I said back to him, we'll run for something decent. And I took him back in his heels a bit. He said we'll run for 5,000. No, says I, we'll make it interesting. We'll go for a lot more than that, which we did. Yeah. Brian Graham arrived down here on the Thursday before the match race, before the race itself, for the money. And I says, there's the money. Are you in funds? A famous barrister said to me that one time, are you in funds? So are you in funds? He says, we have the half. Right, that's gone. So we arrived there. It was on the 9 o'clock BBC News, not just Ulster, England too. Yeah. It was on that, the 9 o'clock news. So the race had to be run at 9:10 because it was live. Yeah. But anyhow, they were saying that Yellow Band would be so much in front of. Well, there was only one dog in the race. He led from top to line. Yeah. Which I thought he would do. He was a Townview Man's a top class. Top class dog. But I want to just say this: if you ever want to see a crowd at a Greyhound meeting, well, they shut the doors. Yeah. They shut the doors and done one. It never was done, but they shut the doors that night.
It was basically all ticket, was it?
It was, surely. Yeah. So. At least it caused a store.
Certainly did. Another great dog that passed through your hands, albeit very briefly. We've spoken about this before. It's a well-known story. Skurlock Champ.
Yeah. Well, that man that bought Skurlock, that finished up buying Skurlock Champ, bought a lot of dogs of me.
Ken Peckham.
Yeah, Ken Peckham. And he came to me I bought the dogs. I walked into Shelburne Park, you know it well. The dogs were, they started at the 600-yard box, you know, come down round. And I see this dog, I'm standing, and this dog, I don't know what happened to him. Now I know what happened to him, but I didn't know what happened to him. I thought he got knocked down the box or something.
You were late coming in. You
Yes,
saw the end of the trial.
yes. But this dog, it would buy me 40 lengths behind.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's up and wins the trial in 34-26 or something like that at the time. So I couldn't get him bought quick enough. So the buyer bought him off was a cattle dealer.
Yeah.
And he had a cigarette in his mouth. And I'll tell you what sticks out in my mind was, you know the ash of the cigarette?
Yeah.
Well, it just kept burning and burning and burning. And it never fell off. And he kept telling one lie after the other. But anyway, to make a long story short, I bought him off him for the price of 3 cows.
Yeah.
Now, the 3 cows was, the farmer owed him the price of 3 cows, and he says, there's a dog, will make far more than that. Take the dog in lieu of the price of the 3 cows. Now, that one's still alive in Enniscorthy that I bought that dog off. Because I seen him recently at a coursing venue. But anyway, he says to me, he's a super greyhound. I says, I would like to believe you're not a greyhound tailor at all. You're a cattle dealer. But I know a bit about dogs, you know. Anyway, buys manager, so it was lot 32. Wonderful the way you mind them things. So anyhow, lot 32 come up. He's not gone and move on to the next one. And it wasn't too long to Mr. Packham was on my shoulder. I know you have bought that dog. I know how much you have given for him. And I want him. Because there's such and such a race coming off over 800 yards and all the rest. I says it's like this. You know what I give for him? I give 1,500 quid for him. I want 3,000 for him. If you want to give me 3,000, you can have him. But if you don't, I'll do a job with him in Dunmore, and then you can have him. No, this race is coming off. They were flapping in England. Anyhow, he pays me. Louis McGowan was the man, took me in, gave me the 3,000. He even paid the commission, you know. And I go into the toilet, and who's in the toilet? Only my cattle dealer. And he says, I'm led to believe, he says, you sold that dog. The biggest, I'm delighted, he said, because they're telling me you're a decent man. And I'm glad you sold that dog. He's the biggest rogue that ever, you want to hear him. And he was, this man's about 6'4" or 5. And he was a big man now. And you're one lion, so to say. Anyhow, the rest is history.
Yeah.
I had 3 bills to pay. As I came down the stairs that morning, the letterbox, and there were all Wendy's in them. There was no goodwill. There was Wendy's in every letter. So there was 1,500 quid, and I said, I got that paid handy.
Yeah. He was in your van for about half
He
an
was
hour.
in my van, maybe a wee bit longer, maybe 2 hours.
I've heard that story a couple of times now at this stage.
But that is
and I was just waiting for the line from the cattle dealer afterwards. I'm glad you sold him. The biggest rogue.
No, the biggest rogue. He says he was trading Enniscorthy last week and he pulled up. He wouldn't go around his own.
Yeah.
But
he was a freak of a greyhound.
He was a freak.
He certainly had no complaints afterwards.
Oh, no. Oh, no, Ken Packham bought a lot of dogs of me now in his life. So
This was obviously a sales in Ireland, in Shelburne Park.
Yes.
You were never afraid to stick a few in the boat and make the long journey.
26
White City in particular.
Yes. 26 one day. Myself. I had about 3 boys lined up to come with me. And it was a wee bit like the gospel. That a wedding to go to, or a funeral, or something else.
What you're saying is Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, they let you down.
No, that happened. 26 dogs I had one day at the same, and I got them over myself, put them on a cattle boat in Larne, and I had my man arranged with a train with straw and all, and I had 2 vans there to collect my order. I got it done, and whatever I made, I had 5 dogs at the next sale. And I made more money with 5 than I did with 26.
Yeah.
So that put the numbers out of my head.
Yeah.
I want more select.
You want quality over quantity.
Yes, yeah.
You rarely brought home one, but you do tell the story of Townview Lad that
Yes.
you did bring home, and it was a mighty fine thing you did.
It was. I brought him home, and Jimmy Martin rang, and he says, the draw for the sprint is coming off in the next hour or so. I'm not going to run that dog. He knew I had a right dog because I'd bet him a couple of times. I says, Jimmy, I'm only home out of England, and I was getting 1,200 quid from him, and I wouldn't take it. And I took him home. And Kevin Hughes and a fella called Oliver Brannigan were making a long odds book. And Kevin Hughes led me 50 to 1 to 200, 10,000 to 200. And Brannigan led me 50 to 1. Now, you had the best sprinters in Ireland in it, like. So anyway, one man, Hughes chickened out till 100. The other man stuck his ground. So they arrived in top 6 he was in top 6 in the final, and Neville Frigay was in top 1. And so listen, that time Dundalk was packed. It kind of the trouble in the north. It was a bonanza in Dundalk. Like you could have had 2,000 or 3,000 people at it. Like.
This is the old Dundalk.
The old Dundalk, yeah. Well, I can mind that night well. Townview lad had he had a bad track leg, and I remember our Damien, when he was young, he says he took it very bad. He says, "You're not going to be able to run, you know." What are you talking about? Say, he'll be running, say, and he'll be winning. Will you do what you're told? Anyhow, we got him there anyhow, and Neville Frigay was a great dog at the box. He was a powerful dog at the box, out like a bullet. And you want to hear how he had some support. You know, all the punchers. But I tell you, Townview lad went by him as if he was standing.
Yeah.
And went on 1, 4, 5 lengths, 18-12 in the final. I was good at getting them ready for finals.
Yeah. You weren't too good at getting them ready for anything.
Well, you have to get them, but you know, when you get there, there's no good in...
But from not selling them,
Yes.
because you were getting 300 quid less than you wanted,
Yes.
it made you
I got a lot of money.
thousands and thousands.
It did, and I sold him till I sold him till he was a bookmaker in Scotland, and he only bought good dogs.
Yeah.
And I sold them to him for a lot more than 1,200.
Yeah. Obviously, through this time, you're buying, selling, landing a touch here and there.
Yeah.
But bills are big. Around this time, you bought the farm up the road, around 75.
Yeah.
You were saying to me earlier on.
77. I bought it in 75, and nobody knew I had it bought for 2 years. So I didn't start working on it till I had the money.
Yeah.
People tell me that I'm wealthy. I do say, yes, I am wealthy.
Yeah.
Because anything I have, I work for it.
Yeah.
So I had to wait till I got the money. I was a very bad man to borrow. My mother taught me, she says, don't borrow money off banks. And I said, why not? But she says, when it's raining, no, when the sun's shining, they'll hand you an umbrella. And when it starts to rain, they'll take the umbrella off you. And I never forgot that. Now, it worked for me, and it worked against me. But so I had to wait, by 77 or 78.
That made a big difference. Obviously, you had a lot more space.
Yes, well, I started rare dogs and put up gallops. I have a gallop like Parstown Park.
Yeah.
It's a ditto job.
It's huge.
And sure, listen, look at my derby winners are up it.
Yeah.
So it has to be all right.
Yeah. It's doing all right. Obviously, around this time, you started rearing, breeding dogs, whatnot. Again, as Liam Cahill once said about dogs, they're easy stock to get into. But so were children. You had quite a few at that point. So the bills were there. You had to keep going. Obviously, you were a master up the field, but the track was still always prevalent.
Yeah.
In more recent years, as the boys have got older, as your grandsons have gotten involved, granddaughters, it's really sort of come back full circle. You're more involved now in the track perhaps than you ever were, and the results have been there. You've been very lucky. Obviously, the first real star for you was Tom's Delight, and by God, she threw.
Oh, listen, she was a miracle by. We bought her to race her, and Jerry Scullion says to me, Brandon, he rings me at Tubbercurry, he says, Brandon, that bitch will never race. That bitch is finished. So the man that I bought her off, he rings me then, and he says, it was about a fortnight before Christmas. So I think he had a family of children too, so he was looking at a few quid. So he says, would you buy her as a brood bitch? And listen, I had to think about it.
Yeah.
But it was because of the money that he was looking for. Like, he was nearly looking as much for her as if she was going to race as a brood bitch. Now listen, I struck a good deal with him, a good deal for him as much as myself.
Yeah.
And so listen, the rest is history. I went up to her one night in our first letter. I went up to the farm, you know where the farm is, and I had her in this place, and she came out of the house. Now, I was coming from a race meeting. I don't know what race meeting it was, but it was a summer's evening, and I took her, let her follow me down to a paddock, and she skipped about. Now, she was heavy, she was very heavy, and she skipped about the paddock, and I'm looking, and like I would have an idea when they're near to go to pup, like. But anyhow, I says, no pups to you tonight, and away I goes. So I goes up the next morning at 7 o'clock, and the finest litter of pups you ever seen. Every one of them, dry and everything, all sucking at her. 10 of them.
Wow.
I never seen anything like. She didn't want people there.
Yeah.
As she proved later on.
She was an independent lady.
Yes, she wanted. I don't mind letting the bitch pup themselves if they're not lazy. When they come out in a bag, if they don't clean them, you'll have a dead pup lying behind her.
Yeah. And that first litter, like she really did hit the ground.
Oh, she hit the ground.
Like you're talking, English Derby finalists, unlock and lock. Like they were just remarkable. So, and now those pups, some of the bitches are throwing big time, and obviously some of the dogs were superstars.
Yeah.
You said it. You have to feed them well. Pedigree has to be there, but you also need a little bit of luck. And by God, you got a bit of luck with her.
Listen, if you haven't luck, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Well, people just say to me, Brandon, you're very lucky. Well, I says, it's one or two things. I was either very lucky, or else I was a real good worker.
Yeah.
And you see, the second one.
You didn't miss mass too often either, no.
No. Well, it never done me any harm. It never did me any harm.
It's all well and good producing the pups. Obviously, they all have to have talent, but you still got to steer them through. And obviously, I remember talking to Plunkett and Damien one night in Shelburne Park, and they were going, "We're looking for Kirby dogs." And this is before the Kirby had really sort of grown roots. We knew that this big competition was coming up, and there's January whelps and whatnot. And the boys were, now's the time.
Yes.
Get on board before people realise this is something serious.
Full of waking up.
And the results were there.
Yes,
you won 2 Kirbys in the early years.
Yeah.
You've since gone close to winning 2 more.
Yes,
You've been runner-up,
both
with
I can't name them.
Innocent Times.
Yes, we won them.
No, it wasn't Innocent Times.
No, he
Merritt's Inclusion, who became the bubbly dog.
That's right.
And The Machine was second as well.
Yes.
But then, of course, you won it, both with Boyle Sports Hero and Cable Bay. Both very different greyhounds. I remember the night that the Boyle Sports Hero dog ran as a Coulivanti dog.
Yes.
He showed unbelievable early speed, only did 29.16.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Damien after the race and went, I've never seen anything like that in front of bed. That was unbelievable. And he was on top of him, in fairness, in the shot.
Yeah.
He turned into a proper greyhound.
Oh, he did. Pity, like, the dog that won the Derby, he beat him 4 lengths every time he met him. Michael Donovan's dog.
Law Hill Blake,
Yes. He was a top-class dog, but John is now, he has now moved on to bigger trainers.
Yeah.
So see how many
You're
Kirby's
still in a position where you can pick up the phone now. You do know that.
Listen, I refuse dogs every day of the week.
Yeah.
But all that I have ever done in my lifetime, I couldn't have done with that family of children.
Yeah.
Every one of them worked at the dogs, and they had an interest. And more important than anything, all through the trouble, they never got involved, and it was very easy to get involved in the trouble. During the trouble, it was very easy to get involved.
You almost pushed them down a path where it was very hard for them to get involved, in a sense where if it wasn't the dogs,
Yes.
they were playing GA,
That's
or
right.
they were getting involved in their studies.
Yes.
You kept them focused, and
I
know
Anna Matthews done that.
Oh, well, I can understand that
Yeah.
too. I know from an early age, knowing your family, that the boys knew as well. You didn't loose lips sink ships. They didn't tell many people their business.
No. I used to shut that door at 4:30 of a Saturday evening. They didn't know what was happening. I remember one night, it was, we had a dog, Charlie Lister's dog. He bought him a Barney Mooney. I turned off 20,000 for him. Picture, what did they call it? Some picture.
Some picture, yeah.
He was galloping up above, and he bit this dog of ours, a short head, in the final at Puppy Derby. Now, our dog was biting him every time we put him in together, but only biting him. But some picture won out of him, bit as a short head. But the night that I bat him, that I bought him at the sales, I think in Shelbourne, and I told the man, if he wins the night I back him, I'll give you another 500. So your man, he told it in the pub in Athay, I think. Athay, no, not Athay. It's Athay in County Kerry. Athay. He always say, the boys say, I don't think you'll be getting any more money. You got a bloody good price for him. But anyway, Harry Finlay was there that night. So I give Harry a good instruction. And I want to tell you something. You're talking about betting. By God, I tell you, it was magic. Yeah. I can't think of the bloody name of the dog. But anyway, he won anyway in 23:49. So I sent your man his 500. He told the country. Yeah. He told the country. That man told me he'd give me another 500, and he sent me another 500.
Proper decent man.
Well, if you have no name, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it's very easy to get a bad name. It's not as easy to get a good name. But anyway, listen, them was all great memories in Dunmore Park. Listen, if I sat here till 12 o'clock tonight, I could tell you some stories about gambling.
Yeah. You talked about, you look at the range of dogs we've spoken about. We've spoken about sprinters.
Yeah.
We've spoken about, obviously, Townview Man,
Yes.
700 yards, but he was 4 bend pace as well.
That's right.
You've had Derby finalists, you've had Kirby Memorial winners. The dream is still to win a Derby on the track.
Well, it's more so now than ever.
Yeah.
And we just might win it.
Yeah. There is a dog running around the gallops down there. Plunkett's particularly fond of him. Drummondine. He was the potential superstar. You thought this was the second coming.
27.90 twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
27.90, and the next thing he's down with his leg up.
If you do have a Derby winner,
yes,
do you think he'll have been born here?
I definitely do.
Yeah.
We have the brood bitches to throw a Derby winner.
Yeah.
The Derby winner should have been in this there was a Derby winner in this canon this year. Should have won the Derby.
Go on.
Well, Popular Harris.
Oh yeah, proper heiress.
Yeah, Harris. Yeah. That's the best dog that has been about here for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, in Ireland.
Yeah. Sid Hewitt was over with the dog for much of the time here. I think Sid drank you out of tea. He may have certainly eaten a few biscuits anyway, Sid. Did you enjoy the Derby journey with him?
Yeah, I did. I have to say, I couldn't speak highly enough of them.
Yeah.
You could take them anywhere.
Yeah.
Sid, he's unique.
Yeah.
And now Mark's son, nice fella, couldn't beat them. Yeah. I would have done it different. But They have him back in England. He's after winning 2 Cat 1s there.
Since he came back?
Yes, 20,000.
That's 5 Category 1s this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, that's a proper greyhound.
Yeah. So the dream is to produce one like him.
Correct.
How many do you still have about you, Brendan? Like here, like it's hard, as I said, you know, the first time I came up here earlier in this year, I spoke to you before the Hall of Fame, which is something we need to talk about, but I drove past, it's hard to believe, it's quiet, you don't hear dogs barking.
Yeah.
But there are 60, 70 dogs behind us here. You have some race dogs, most of the race dogs.
Here.
Brood bitches and pups here.
Yes, yeah. But the brood bitches go, it's all according to the winter time. I like to have them. I would look after brood bitches the same way as look after a racing greyhound, because they're the backbone of the sport. Like,
Yeah.
if I have no good mummies, there'll be no good sons or daughters.
Yeah.
So most of them down here, but in the summertime, I've different paddocks. I can put 3 or 4 brood bitches out, and albeit they're muscle thick, but at least they're not locked up all the time. To give them freedom. You know the way people tell you dog men's hard on greyhounds? Well, I'm not one bit hard on them. They're looked after better nearly than children.
Yeah.
Well, a dog will only do, if you're good to it, it'll be good to you.
Yeah, I've often said this.
Yeah.
You know, I saw Adam and Ben growing up.
Yes.
Obviously, sons of Damien.
Yeah.
And they'd disappear. We have a dog in the next race, and they'd be gone.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd say, "I shall see you in 20 minutes."
Yeah.
You'd see them in an hour. By the time they've gone through the dog, I
Yeah.
mean, they've done nails, they've done eyes, they've done ears. The dog is shining as much after racing as it would have been
before.
going into racing, and it's something that's been bred into them. Like,
Bred
this is
into
something
them.
they've been doing
Yeah,
since they were
yeah.
very young.
Yes, that is right.
Yeah.
Listen, there's nothing easy about dog racing. There's nothing easy about training a dog. You can make it easy. Just don't bother doing anything. But it's not like that.
Yeah.
If you don't, listen, you cover every angle. And we know most of them lads, the first thing I learned, when we had a vet in this town one time called Plunkett Devlin. God rest him, he's dead.
God bless him.
Yeah,
he was a great man.
A good fella and good at his job. And he went to England. And I says to him, about a month before he go, he says to me, "I'm going," he says. Well, I says, that's me kind of out. No, he says. Red Mills is doing a chart on the greyhound body, you know. He says, "Get one of them and I'll go through it with you." And you know, it was the best hour with him. Yeah. And it's how you treat it and all. And I try to pass it on to them boys. If you don't know yourself, you shouldn't be at it.
Yeah.
You must know, and you know when to race them and when not to race them.
And that's the one thing, you've never overly raced your dogs.
No.
They tend to retire, you know, like if they've ever got to 50 races, I'd be surprised. Nearly.
Oh, I have no charge yet. I wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's like coursing. There's 30 good courses in any greyhound. 30, in my opinion. Like we have dogs qualified there for the Derby this year in Clonmel, and I haven't raced them again. And there's people wondering, you know, they're wondering, but I let them wonder. But you'd be easy on the dog. So when the event comes round, you're going in with a fresh dog. Same with the track.
Yeah. You said it yourself. You still dream of producing a Derby champion. The hunger's clearly still there, and you have a lot of young people around you, and that's something that's always been the case.
Oh yeah.
It adds a bit of spark and life to the place, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Listen, listen. Adam and Ben, and there's Niall Coleman. That's Jacqueline's fella. And then there's a few strangers. There's one particular new recruit on the job. When you meet him, you'll get some education. He's the smartest book ever I had around me, I can tell you. He's the quickest learner. He must be a genius, because You just have to tell him once, not twice. And he's on top of it. But sure, listen, if they take after me and work, whatever they're at, they'll not get lost.
Yeah.
Because, listen, at the end of the day, if you're not prepared to get up out of your bed in the morning, I have got up at 6 o'clock in the morning all my life, and it never done me any harm.
Yeah. That's maybe why you're a Hall of Famer.
Well, it was a sad night too, to become a Hall of Famer, because you know what happened to them. they generally leave us, and that's I used like the coursing people asked me these last 10 years. They got it bought whenever I accept it, because I just say, well, have a look at the last 7 or 8 of them. They're all gone. Yeah. I want to hold on and all wee while.
You're fitting well though. You're a man you've never abused your body. You don't drink.
Well, I had a doctor rang me yesterday,
yeah,
for the first time in my life, and it was all over. I do have, from time to time I do have asthma, and that sort of was very bad for it. And I wanted 2 of these lads,
inhalers.
I forget the name. And he didn't want to give it him because he didn't want me overusing it. And he says, I'm looking at your notes here, and I want to tell you something. What that man said to me yesterday, he says, listen, Brandon, you're 86 years of age, and I'm looking at, and you got your blood done. He says, tell the people you're 50. That's what he said.
You still do qualifying time in Shelburne, would you?
Well, you know what, COVID, I nearly died with COVID. Yeah. I went to Cheltenham, got a good few quid in Cheltenham the same year, I have to say, but I tell you, one of the dearest few pound I ever got. I come home, and I can tell you, I was sick, but I wouldn't go to the hospital, and I had a Dr. Tom Black, who's the top COVID man in Northern Ireland, and he came in to me with 2 nurses. I am spoiled, and I know I'm spoiled, because he came in to me for 14 days. That is the truth, anybody will tell you, with 2 nurses, and that more gear on them. You know that stuff?
I know, yeah.
And my own doctor came up one day because he knew he was there, and he says, Brandon, I'm looking that you have to go to Greyhound. And I can see him yet, Dr. McAvoy, they call him. And he lost the head with me. And I says, listen, doctor, if I'm going to die, I'll die here. Because a pal of mine, Bobby White, had went to the hospital, got a knee done, took COVID out in a bag. His family never even, they don't know who they buried. They probably buried Robbie, but anyhow. So I says, they'll definitely know me because I'll be here in this bed. So when it's all over and done, Black says to me after the 14th day, he says, Brandon, you're over it. You're on the road to recovery. And you want to know what saved you? I says, go ahead. He says, good living.
Yeah.
Good living, says I. Well, I didn't just think of that. Good living, doctor, you don't mind. And he's sitting looking at a chart, or at the, a pad.
History of your...
You know, he's sitting looking at whatever they call them lads. He says, no smoking and no drinking.
And plenty of punting.
And plenty of punting. Listen, I love to have a bet.
Yeah.
And there's another thing. I was always a great believer when you're punting dogs or horses, wherever you're batting. Have the max on, because if you think it only has half a chance, you shouldn't be backing it.
Yeah.
You should be having your max bat.
When the conditions are right, go.
When everything's right.
Yeah.
Have the lot on. Jim Flood asked me one day to run a dog called Newry Express. There was 2 of them that left. There were 2 West Berwickshire dogs. And Jim Flood, the famous punter, you may have known, your father would have known him well. He says to me, what price will I stop at? And the words I said back to him, black chalk.
Leave no chalk.
No, leave no chalk. What do you got?
Brendan, a pleasure as always. Hall of Fame in my book, and now officially a Hall of Famer. I won't ask you to name us a dog for next year because, yeah, that's not in the remit.
Well, a bit of time.
But you have a few nice pups,
Aye.
and you're looking forward to perhaps having a derby winner in the very near
Well,
future.
we're going to shape. Let's put it this way. I think we've filled up boxes long enough. I think it's coming near our turn.
Well, Brendan, I think there's no better way to finish. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for that.
much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.